Alright, response video to Fred. Yeah, he made a video explaining some of this stuff. I mean, I figured it was some sort of game he was playing, but I just didn't want to play. I mean, I got people all over my life playing fucking games. You know, this psychology crap, this bullshit. I'm just so sick of fucking bullshit. So yeah, okay, I kind of got that when you were talking about Ted Kaczynski, you were talking about yourself, but I just don't even see the fucking point of it. Why raise it? It just feeds the trolls. So what fucking? Why should I say a good joke? Because to me, it's a bad joke. It doesn't do us any fucking good. Well, anyway.
In exactly the way that you do, you know. I'd have a disagreement. I disagree with you. I think you're wrong in some of these things. And clearly you think I'm wrong in some things. I personally favour an approach which looks at end of life rather than beginning of life.
Yeah, well, I just don't see how you control population that way, okay? Because people don't have babies at the end of their life. They have babies in the early part of their life. So if the reproduction thing is done here, and you want to talk about over here, I just don't see the point of it. It doesn't really matter whether we die at 30 or 50. It is how we die, more than when we die. Because we're not killing the planet in those years. We're killing the planet when we're created as a number, as another mouth to feed. It's a growing population that's the problem, not existing population.
I favour an approach which doesn't demand totalitarian systems to implement. I favour.
Yeah, well, great. I mean, that's just fucking fantastic. And if you think there's some hope of doing that, then great. Let's keep voting for it, and it'll never happen. Fine. Whatever. We might as well just say there's no possible solution if something like vouchers is going to be seen as police state draconian, in my opinion. I mean, if you can't take that much police state, you'll never be able to take as much police state as is going to be required for us to get to the future. Because I would, right now there's technology I could manipulate. I could fuck with it, and I could do real hard harm to people with it. And that's a dangerous world we're living in. And if we don't have some way to regulate human behavior, well, you're going to fucking die. Not the way you intend to.
For an approach which is broadly speaking in keeping with the development of increasing liberalisation, not its opposite.
Again, yeah, I just don't see how there's any possibility. You want to explain how Star Wars scenarios could take place where individuals could have nuclear-powered or hydrogen-powered cars, and there wouldn't be a huge threat that some guy gets divorced and goes a little loopy and decides to blow up a city block? I mean, just explain to me how you think you're going to take this huge, giant population and give them free access to technology. I don't see how that's going to be realistic.
And again, as I've said several times in these videos, an approach in which the means to an end aren't worse than the ends themselves. There's no point. As you yourself have said, actually, one of these videos, Gary.
Yeah, well, I've complained about the means, like slavery is not a justifiable means. But yeah, I'm not horrific. Frankly, no, I'm not scared of a democracy. Okay, I don't like what it decides to do sometimes, but that scares me a lot less than a world run by chaos and silly freedom. I mean, the silly freedom to murder a family and then waste 10 years of our time prosecuting you and then waste another 30 years of resources feeding you and keeping you comfortable and healthy. Fuck that bullshit.
Said no first do no harm. There was this coincidental moment when you said that phrase at the same time as I made a video with that title, First Do No Harm. And that seems like a really important moral stance to take in relation to political change.
Yeah, and like I said, me and you, I guess, are just not going to agree on what a civilization has to look like or should look like and what is harmful to civilization. Yeah, so that's a problem.
And I firmly believe that if you were to try to institute the kind of political policies that you're talking about,
well, first off, let's get clear. Most of the political policies I talk about are forcing judges to take polygraph tests, trying to develop a more certain lie detector mechanism so we can force accountability. Accountability all over the place. Cameras on cops' heads. I want every single thing a public employee does documented. That should be the price of their nice privileged job, is that they're watched meticulously. So I'm all for, that kind of politics, okay? But I'm not for unraveling any kind of system of accountability. People have to be accountable for their bullshit. And they don't have some liberal right to do whatever the fuck they want any fucking time they want to.
It would be the kind of infrastructure you need to put in place would make living in a society far worse than living in this society.
Well, I don't get any of that, okay? We already have Social Security numbers. Our voucher could be tied to our Social Security number. I don't really see how it would be some kind of horrific, horrible thing to figure out. It'd be no more difficult than owning some IBM stock. How can people do that in this society? Isn't that draconian that you must to have ownership and it's a signed document? You can't have such a thing. Of course you can. You can have a nice, solid piece of paper that says, this is my voucher. This is my reproductive right to replace myself. And if I want to do more than replace myself, then I have to make a little bit of an argument to some audience that might have the power to allow me to do that. What's the big fucking deal?
And as I've said before, I would much favour a more voluntary approach.
Yeah, well, an approach that will completely not accomplish anything. It will not work. It won't happen. So what's the point? People aren't going to do it voluntarily. They won't not litter voluntarily. They won't not do anything voluntarily. They don't voluntarily pay taxes. They don't voluntarily do a goddamn fucking thing. So it's just kind of pie in the sky by comparison, in my opinion. And so to draw whatever. I just, what's the point? I mean, obviously it's black and white here. It's not any gray here. There's not any brown. There's not any hope of us having any kind of agreement, because we see the world in completely different perspectives. I mean, if my proposal can be considered as a draconian imposition on the freedom of mankind, and from my perspective, like I said, expecting human beings to do the right thing without any kind of obligation imposed on them, well, good fucking luck with that.
Ways to incentivize behaviours rather than penalise them.
Yeah, well, whatever. Like I said, I'm all for it. I'd vote for it, but if 3 people voting for it ain't going to make it happen. All right, because it's going to be expensive to do it that way. I mean, I'd love to bribe people out of their fertility, but the rest of the people aren't going to go for that. And as you're going to argue about viability, so I might as well argue some of that. There's a lot of single people in the world who are pretty goddamn sick of subsidizing other people's reproductive choice. So it's not all that completely out of the realm of political possibility. There's a lot of single people who just want a chance to vote against all these goddamn assholes telling them they have to spend $100,000 raising their kids for them.
What else? Yeah, you talk about eugenics. You said I made a few videos about eugenics. I haven't made any videos about eugenics. I made a few about suicides and, no, I guess you didn't say eugenics. You said euthanasia, that's right. But I'm not in support, at no point have I said I would support involuntary euthanasia.
Well, whatever. You're raising the issue as if there was, okay, well, what if we had a life like Logan's Run, and then you changed it to 50 years old, and I don't know, so what's the point of talking about all that crap? Because you certainly were giving the implication that you were talking about in some sort of, like, what if the world did look like that, and what would it mean, and how would that work? And you didn't just say, oh, it's completely preposterous nonsense, I'm just talking rubbish off the top of my head for no good reason. That's not what you said, so fine, whatever.
That's kind of what TV series was hinting at as well, which is why I didn't really go there. No, voluntary euthanasia, of course, I'm absolutely in support of that, as I've said before.
Yeah, wasn't that a good example, though? I mean, we're talking about what are practical ways to get to the human mind, and we can't even get enough to the human mind to get people the right to have a living will and contract to have the right to put themselves out of business when things get out of control. I mean, we have this very limited, well, yeah, okay, we won't shove tubes down your throat, and we won't resuscitate you for the 743 times, but, yeah, we're going to do it, a hell of a lot before we get to that point, because we've got to make some money off of you.
With, proper checks and balances being in place. So, yeah, but not other kinds of euthanasia. So I haven't really been interested in that. And as I said before, my version of voluntary euthanasia is one that simply isn't viable right now. It doesn't. Take too long to go there, wouldn't it? So there's that, I suppose, really. Let's just go back to this voucher scheme for a minute. I mean, it's not that I didn't address that guy. I mean, what you're kind of neglecting is that I did talk about that. I did cite China. There has been attempts to do exactly what you're suggesting here.
See, that's it, though. It's not exactly. That's the whole fucking point of it. All right? I mean, it's not exactly like China. China was a one-child policy, and the only way to have more than that was through corruption. There wasn't any system to have more than that. And you're going to say it didn't work, but no, go look at the numbers. I mean, go look at India compared to China over the last decade, and China's win all over the place, and India's fail all over the place.
China did try to do that, and even with all the backing of a massive infrastructure and a massive totalitarian state, and even with the putting into place of a system of finance which would allow proper circulation of wealth and proper distribution of wealth, supposedly, and power, even with all of the conditions being optimal for that, it still didn't work. And you're suggesting that you try to...
Well, again, it depends on what you define as work. Compared to what it would have been, it worked.
Do that within the context of a democracy. I mean, there's a reason why people like Ted Kaczynski and why people like Pendy Winkler are fringe elements. It's because nobody...
They're less than fringe elements. They're only elements at all. They're only in our vocabulary because they did something horrific. All right, so they're not even fringe elements. They're nothing as a philosophy because they cheated to gain any kind of credibility. So whatever. And so, like I said, I don't see any point in this fucking comparison. It's a fucking shit comparison. I mean, you want to compare yourself to some kind of lunatic? Well, that's your business. But don't fucking rub me with that fucking bullshit crayon.
Likes the idea. Nobody buys it. They really don't. There's a tiny proportion of people which are worried by it, but certainly not enough worried enough to vote for these people. Yeah,
well, whatever. I'd like to see. Why don't we? It'd be nice if we can get enough political reform to actually have some votes on this shit and just see where people fucking stand. Because I think, sold the right way, I think you'd be damn surprised how many people would say, yes, do something.
Well, I'm sorry, but democracy has never been able to buy that system. So the only thing...
No, I think the only thing that's not going to buy it are the assholes, okay? Yeah, but I think there's lots of people who are going to buy it. Lots of people who are sick of a society that's out of fucking control, populations in their society that are out of fucking control, all right? I mean, you can say it, but I can sell it.
You have to do with the imposition of a police state, and then, as I say, the ends simply wouldn't justify the means. Because you'd be doing too much harm first.
Oh, yeah, right. You have to have a social security number. Yeah, all right, scary, scary stuff. Yeah.
All right. That's the other thing. Yeah, you suspect that I'm what's the word you use again? Phantasmagorical. Yeah, maybe. I mean, I'm calling these my speculations science fiction. But I have to say again, you know what I mean? I know you throw this word phantasmagorical around as an insult and refer to unicorns and so on, but I do think that your voucher scheme, I'm sorry, it is a phantasmagorical scheme. Any scheme which is supposed to solve the problems of the world in ways which are unrealizable or which are mythical, whether that be pink unicorns or whether that be completely unimplementable social policies.
I mean, again, unimplementable compared to what social policy? The Civil Rights Act? I mean, what are we going to make a comparison to? Yeah, it's not a tax cut. It's not real easy to pass. But, you know, come on. I mean, this rhetoric is just outrageous.
Or essentially, you know, the same thing. They're just the ramblings of an incontinent imagination, whether it be yours or whether it be any of the various mystical people online. You know what I mean? It's just.
Well, let's say that there was a clock actually ticking, and that everybody could hear the tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. That there was this, that they could hear the ticking bomb, and we all said one day, okay, we're going to make a decision today because we're not going to do nothing. We're going to do something about that ticking thing. We're going to stop the ticking. So let's all vote today on something. So what are you going to vote for? That you think is more realistic, that you think has a better chance of passage tomorrow? Jesus.
We're just using our imaginations here, and I don't think... and it's equally phantasmagorical, I'm sorry, I think that's what I think.
Well, yeah, you're entitled to your opinion. I have no problem with you having that opinion. That's fine. And my response to that opinion is compared to what? The proposal that everybody just do the right thing? Oh, yeah, gee, that sounds really good. Everybody should just do the right thing. Yeah, I don't think so.
I mean, I'll be honest with you guys, the most disappointing bit about your video was the bit about VR. And there's no real easy way to say this, but you know, I did find it really deeply disappointing.
Yeah, well, you don't know the context of it anyway. I mean, I brought up the VR thing because it's the fail-safe solution, okay, to our impending doom, okay, our nuclear destruction. This is the way out, okay? If we find a safe environment where we can still be assholes, then we're okay, okay? We can still be greedy and selfish and self-interested and motivated completely by self-gratification. And, yeah, so no harm, no foul in VR, okay? You can exploit and rape and pillage and molest all the fuck you want, and all you're molesting is insentient, non-existent perceptions in your consciousness. So it's all win in terms of a safe environment. So that's what it initially was inspired by. Okay, I say just give up. Okay, life is stupid. Forget it. Live out to have your party like it's 1999 and let the whole thing go to fucking hell. Nuke it from space. You know, but yeah, no, we know that can't sell. We know the human race is never going to give it up. So I'm offering this as a way where the human race can still be the asshole that everybody wants to be, and they can just do it in a safe environment, and they can have all. And again, I mean, I've stated it as plainly as I can. Okay, so me personally, yeah, my virtual reality is going to have Christina Applegate all over the fucking place. All right, so what? Nobody else has any imagination? They can't think of what they would put in theirs? So I used examples that meant something to me. Yes, I'd like to be the Terminator, or I'd like to be Superman, or I'd like to be this, or I'd like to be that. Okay, that's me personally. Somebody else might want to go into virtual reality, go fishing all day. Well, that's their fucking business. All right, I have to do the imagining for all the other people too. I'm just saying that you can do whatever you want. You want to be a 5-dimensional cube floating through Circleville, you can do that. You can do any kind of fucking thing you want to in virtual reality, and that's the goddamn fucking point. It expands imagination. All right, I personally don't give a fuck about doing anything abstract and bizarre. No, I'll just take my Christina time and play a little golf and maybe get some sun on the yacht, and that'll be. I can do that every day. I can wake up every day facing that horror, and that's fine with me. Okay, I'm satisfied. I'm comfortable.
Because what that showed to me, because in many of your videos, and I really enjoy your videos, I really do. In many of your videos, you talk about...
Well, like, look, I like your videos. I like you as a person, but I mean, we don't communicate very well, and more importantly, we do fundamentally see life as very different things. I mean, you see some kind of purpose for intelligence besides cleaning up the mess. You think there's actually something to fucking do here besides scheme for satisfaction. And I'm saying, there's nothing else to do with intelligence but figure out some way to get what you want. And if you don't know what you want, well, then you're really fucked. Okay? Then you really might as well give it up.
You know, this is a zero-sum game. And we should come out of the game. The game is broken. It's unfair. That is the kind of language you use. And it's all about, it seems to me, either breaking the game, changing the human game, rewriting the rules of the human game.
No, it's not about doing any of that shit. It's a recognition that it's a flawed, stupid maze game, and no matter how you move the pieces, no matter how you move the walls, no matter what you fucking do, there's not a goddamn thing you can do with the stupid fucking game. It's built on chasing illusionary cheese, and that's what we're built to do. That's what the cheese is built to do. And the walls are just built to confine us, and that's it. There's nothing else to do. So yes, we can take the walls out, and then we can chase our cheese in a virtual world. We can do all kinds of stuff, but still chasing. All right, there's nothing else to do but chase this thing called desire, satisfaction, orgasm, whatever the fuck you want to call it, and that's the game. Okay, and the game might just be made on us being uncomfortable enough to be willing to even chase in the first place. All right, but I'm not arguing that there's something else to accomplish. There's no pyramids to make. There's no nothing to make. When you look over the edge of the maze, there's just black nothingness. There's nothing. There's no other fucking game but maze game. And maze game is stupid. But I'm just saying that human beings will not give up the fucking maze game. So I have to come up with some kind of fucking way to make the maze game so there's less blood and guts on the wall. And that's all I give a fuck about. I just care about taking the guts off the fucking goddamn walls. I don't give a fuck about anything else. If people want to jerk off in some world where they're not going to hurt anything else or consume anything else or force anything else to exist in a suffering state, well then fucking goddamn fine.
Throwing the rule book out the window. You know, that's the whole position that's the whole set of ideas you've been adopting. That this game is fucked, or it's rigged, or it's a bad game to start with, and we need to rewrite the game. But your description of your ambitions for VR, and I know you were just talking at the top of your head, the Superman, Lois Lane, fantasy, but this most recent response, the being a quarterback, or having all those kinds of material and embodied successes. I mean, what that's revealing to me is you don't want to break the game at all. You just want to win it.
Again, I don't see any point in playing it, but I'm saying if you're going to play it, yeah, you make the cheese as gettable as possible. And you give people as much cheese as possible, and yeah, you optimize the arrangement between the chaser and the cheese, and that's it.